What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So this video is addressing some PC concerns from our audience members, and I've gotten a few questions surrounding them. One of them, I think I made a video asking, and then now I have some of my audience members asking me is, when do I think we're going to be seeing the PC requirements being published for Gotham Knights? Now, for those of you who are even playing on the console platform, it's going to be interesting as well. So it might be something that you just maybe want to give a glance at, pay a little bit of attention to what's going on, because I'm certain that it's probably going to be surprising when you get to see that the PC requirements go one way or the other. And because of Gotham Knights and the nature of the game and the community's interaction, I think that the developers probably want to make some kind of a big announcement with it. But if you were to say, okay, usually or traditionally, these PC requirements for video games will come out about a month before the game releases. As of now, today, as I'm recording this video, it is the 16th of September. So my guess is somewhere around the 21st, which is next week, or maybe the 23rd. But a month from the release of the game is the 21st, so Wednesday. Usually the team doesn't seem to favor any day in terms of posting new showcases or content or trailers. So it might be any day of the week at that time. But I'm kind of leaning towards the 21st because it just seems to work that way. Another thing too is if I were to maybe take some notes from other video games that seem to have already released their own PC requirements, we can see that a video game like Uncharted also here on the PlayStation exclusive, anyways, the former PlayStation exclusive, because apparently you can actually get the game now on PC if you go to the Epic Game Store or whatever. They also now have the PC requirements, and keep in mind the game does not come out until the 19th of October. Let me see where it says that. There it is, 10/19/2022, and we already have PC requirements. Now, these PC requirements were actually accidentally published, taken down, and then published again. So this is pretty much how I think that these are going to get executed in terms of how they decide to go ahead and do it. But a game like Uncharted 4 on PC seems to be very well optimized, because if you look at the minimum settings, and this is for those of you who are playing on either console or PC, but this is how it's being interpreted anyways, is you look at the processor requirement and look at the VRAM requirement, or if you even go down to the minimum, you'll see that you can actually run the game, even though it's going to be a 720 pixels, 30 FPS in terms of its resolution and performance. It's asking for about the 4 gigs graphics cards to be able to hit that particular goal. That's pretty good. You can still play at 1080 in many cases using these GPUs, but you would have to maybe do some interesting scaling in terms of textures and quality to be able to maybe enjoy the game at that frame rate. Then if you want to maybe hit the 60 FPS, that's probably when you're going to be coming up with the i5 4430s and maybe getting some 8 gigs of VRAM. But if you go into the 16 gig memory, use VRAM that's actually a little higher, you'll be able to see maybe a few more gains. But again, the game is seeming to be asking for 6 gigs of RAM and using some sort of a higher processor to achieve 1080p settings. Now, other settings, in a sense, have not necessarily been determined, and so we're yet to see if there's going to be a 60 FPS version of the game. I guess we can look on the Steam page, but I don't know how that's actually looking currently. I don't know. I hope the game runs in 60 FPS, because that would be a highlight for a lot of people playing on PC in order for them to be able to get that. Here, we don't even see those details that we did on the Epic Game Store. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be something that, we just take a look at, as time comes out. Now, with the Gotham Knights side, nonetheless, many people are in a position where they don't really know how the game is going to run. Judging by the way they even revealed some of the gameplay footage, it seems the developers went ahead and actually set the game to release its video footage in like 30 FPS. In fact, I think there was a small trailer that happened in the Belfry with Batgirl and Dick Grayson, where some people were like, man, the graphics don't really look that good. And then the developers went ahead, took it down, and re-uploaded it in 4K. So we've also seen that as well, because it seems the game is going to be able to run in 4K So I guess we're probably going to be seeing some really interesting requirements there as time goes on. Another question that really did come up too was, one of my audience members said they had just gotten themselves one of these new generation consoles, and they asked me to speak a little bit about what gear I'll be running Gotham Knights on. Now, I want to do it, but let me go ahead and just preface it with what I think the requirements will possibly be based on other video games, the standard in the industry, and the performance. And I'll give you my rig, and while I'll tell you that that rig is more than likely going to play the game. Now, for the way I set up my build and the way I set up my computers, it's more for production. So I'm running processors that are way overkill for gaming, in my opinion anyways. I have a Ryzen 9 setup. My graphics card in there is also one that's designed for content creation and for being able to capture good footage and all of the above. But there is a gaming setup in our house, which actually I think can work for somebody who's wanting to make, some choices, building something that's based on a good budget and is going to give some good performance. So that PC has an i7 7700K. That is a very good, powerful processor from back in the day. I think it's the Skylake family or something like that. And then it also has a GTX 1080 Ti. Now, I also have a 1070, which also runs very well. It has 8 gigs of VRAM, and it can run almost anything. For those of you who may have seen a lot of my Batman, footage here on YouTube, who may have seen my God of War footage, my Spider-Man footage that I've played on PC, it's that GPU that ran all those games and gave a good 60 FPS when all of that was going on. There was no problem at all in terms of running those games. Now, those games are optimized. If you were to, want to be fair, that is true, but it doesn't really negate that, Gotham Knights is more than likely going to require hardware that's similar to that. Now, if you really wanted to go crazy, you could scale up all of those things. You can go to maybe 16 gigs of RAM or, 32 gigs of RAM if you wanted to maybe just squeeze out a little bit more FPS. But at the end of the day, it's hard to be able to give or pinpoint exactly where this is going to be. But usually what we see is many video games will get their development done to be able to suit different consoles and even different PC machines. So there is going to be that level of consideration when we're going into all of this that I strongly believe that we'll be seeing as this game is getting close to release. So on those two questions, when I think we're going to be seeing the PC requirements, I take a guess at the week of what is that week starting from the 19th of September. And then as to the PC requirements, I think it's going to be similar to most of the other games that we've seen lately in regard to saying 8 gigs of VRAM being, say, the recommended settings, and then less in some cases for minimum settings, and then processors potentially from, say a few years back. Maybe nothing as I would say old as what Call of Duty can run on. For those of you who don't know, Call of Duty is actually having its minimum specs at the AMD FX series. This is like the last generation of AMD chips, which is crazy, but that game is heavily optimized, one of the most profitable games in the world. So the thing can run on a potato if you actually set it up very well. Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I'll do a deeper dive, but I really want to take my time. In fact, this video is really presumptive of me in terms of putting out those numbers and saying that I think they're going to work. That's not usually common practice, but from playing other video games and seeing the quality and seeing the way they're able to render games, I think, VRAM is usually one of the best places to actually, pay attention to. VRAM, the quality and the power of a CPU chip will give you some details as to what games you can still continue to play. Now, in terms of the resolution and the frame rate, remember, I didn't say anything about that, so I guess we're going to see how that works out with Gotham Knights. But let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Like I said before, I'll be very happy to answer questions, and we can continue this conversation in another video. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.